ready to get started.
Throws it for the goal line, touchdown.
Set time for Aiden Hutchinson again.
Fires up top.
The catch, light him up.
Field, and that ball is intercepted.
Throws it for the goal line, touchdown.
Pressure coming.
Throws that ball for the end zone. The pass. It's caught. That's Garner.
10. Wow, what a play. Dances his way into the end zone.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock.
Welcome everybody to Mock Draft Live presented by FedEx. I'm Colleen Wolfe with Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks. You know if it's Tuesday, we're dropping a fresh mock. I wore this outfit to really highlight all of the picks that are coming up. Got to get out in front of these things with DJ on the set here. But so far, everybody is pretty much in agreement off the top that the Jags are going to get a pass rusher. But the thing that they're split on is which player it will be. So based on the latest mocks right now, DJ and Bucky going with Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Davis, and MJD. Mocked Trayvon Walker to Jacksonville, so we need a tiebreaker here. And I have just the guy to do it. Lance Zierlein is here. It's a special day on Mock Draft Live as we unveil his Mock 3.0. So Lance, welcome. I know you're excited about this. You couldn't sleep last night. Last year, everybody knew the Jags were taking Trevor Lawrence first overall. There was very little suspense there. But this year, who's got the edge at number one?
I think Trayvon Walker does have the edge. It's a buzz behind the scenes, but more importantly, I think when you look at what the Jaguars are trying to do, I mean, they are in a rebuild mode right now. They went and got a potentially great quarterback next year. I still believe in Trevor Lawrence. But what they're doing basically, I think, in this position is betting on the extreme upside. And you have a guy with 35-inch arms with the ability to become a much, much better pass rusher. He's an elite run defender. I think they're betting on traits here with Walker over Hutchinson.
And Bucky loves himself some good upside, so that's a great pick for him. Next up, Detroit at 2, a layup for them with Aiden Hutchinson.
I think so. You race the card up. You want football culture over there. Dan Campbell's been trying to build it. It's a team that really played good football for much of the year. They were a feisty group all the way to the end. I think this is a really good opportunity to add a high football character player who is a plug-and-play talent off the start, off the break, and I think he's also a very safe prospect as well.
So Brad Holmes gets the Wolverine to stay in Michigan. As someone who just traveled for the weekend myself, I like the idea that he doesn't have to go far. That seems very nice. So the trendy debate right now is these two edge rushers off the top. Now, is this more of a fit thing? I mean, if you were Trent Baalke, what would you do? Who would you take for Jacksonville?
I wouldn't hesitate. I'd take Aiden Hutchinson. And to me, I just think I look at this organization and what they've been through over the last year, and I don't want to take risks. I love Trayvon Walker. I love, as Lance was saying, the traits and what you can dream on, what he can be. I know what Aiden Hutchinson is right now. I think he's an impact player. And to me, Buck, I just don't see the need to take a risk at number one. Just take Aiden Hutchinson, plug him in, and go.
Yeah, I think this has a little bit to do with we all have like what we call a sweet tooth, right? We have a thing that kind of catches our fancy from time to time. We can't resist it. And so when I look at Trayvon Walker, maybe Trent Baalke sees him kind of like he saw Aldon Smith years ago with the San Francisco 49ers, a guy who was an inside pass rusher at his last year in Missouri, didn't necessarily have the production, but then you take him in San Francisco, you put him outside, and he pops and explodes. When you look at Trayvon Walker, he certainly has explosive physical attributes. The production isn't there, but the potential suggests that he could be a big-time player at the next level.
I think one thing that keeps popping into my head was I covered the Houston Texans here in 2006, and our arguments were Vince Young versus Reggie Bush. They were the two best college football players that year. And the guy that ended up getting picked first was Mario Williams. And he had tremendous traits. He was a tremendous tester at the combine, and people were betting on – the Texans were betting on the upside. That just keeps coming into my mind here with Trayvon Walker versus Hutchinson, kind of the Reggie Bush, Vince Young, but here comes Mario Williams. That's what comes to my mind when I think of Trayvon, the upside, and a team betting on the upside here.
Yeah, do you want 877 cash now, or you want a future investment with a chance for it to appreciate? That is the debate. Lance, let's move to your guy at 3, where the offensive tackle portion of the program begins. We're talking about all of these pass rushers, but they need some protection, and the Texans, they take Evan Neal.
Plenty of time, steps up in the pocket. Big hole. Room on the left side now. Evan Neal clears away. Mountain of a man in the middle of that And now he's aiming for his receiver to get to the end zone, and he got it to him.
So, Lance, you have Nick Casario here deciding to address the offensive line with Mr. Versatility himself.
Yeah, I think what you look at is the salary cap looks like next year is a cap casualty potential for Laramie Tunsil. I think he could be gone after 2022. So I'm not worried about Evan Neal right now. Plug him in at right tackle, plug him in at guard, because in 2023, I think he'll be your starting left tackle. And listen, I think he's the safest tackle prospect in this draft.
He's big, he can move, and you can put him anywhere, and he will deliver. Let's hop down to the Panthers at 6, where Scott Fitterer needs to hit on this pick with no day 2 selections.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I made the decision to go with Charles Cross, one of the things I was looking at is he's a true left tackle. I think he's got some really good hands, good hand placement, good technique. I think he's a guy you can plug and play early on, and that's a team right now that needs to win and needs to get left tackle right. So I went with a player that I thought had a higher floor. That's why I rolled with Charles Cross here. He's a good football player. And
we'll see what new offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo whips up with him joining the fold there. Closing out the mini run on tackles, though, in the top 10, Ike Ekwonu lands in New York with the 7th overall pick to the Giants, Lance.
Yeah, I gave Ike Ekwonu a 6.5 grade, which is, as DJ knows, is you can say boom bust, but what I just think it is, it's a little bit more volatility. And I think his upside is higher than Charles Cross's, but I think it's going to take him a little bit of time. There's also a question about whether or not he's a tackle or a guard. So in this particular instance, the Giants need both tackle and guard. That's why I went with Ekwonu. I think that's an easy call for the Giants after I have them going Thibodeau at 5.
So his upside is higher than Charles Cross, but why so high then on Charles Cross ahead of Ekwonu? Is it just
yeah, I think it's not just the fit. It's the fact that Carolina right now is in win now mode. I mean, I think you could argue that Matt Rule is probably on the hot seat a little bit right now, and they need to win now. If they went with quarterback, there's a chance that you're in development mode and you're not getting anything out of the first pick. For me, it came down to Charles Cross. I think right now is more game ready. I think he's more technically sound than Ike Ekwonu, and I think this is more of a now draft pick than a future draft pick. And I think they could be, and Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers might be in a position where they're looking at the guy who's most ready now because they have an immediate issue of trying to win and potentially save their job. So that could, creep into the decision of who to go with at 6.
Okay, so if it falls like this, Bucky, Evan Neal going 3rd overall to Houston. He was a guy that at one point was being mocked 1st overall in some mocks. So how does he fit in Houston if they do indeed pass on an edge rusher?
Well, I mean, I think he's a great fit. He's a great fit because he's not only a technical marvel, but he also has versatility. And so Lance alludes to the potential camp ramifications that could come with continuing to go on with Laramie Tunsil. But when you look at the tape, you see why the Texans could fall in love with a player like this. Talk about the balance and pass protection. His ability to synchronize his feet with his hands, really important. He has great IQ and awareness. He can pass off stunts and those things. And because he's played so many different spots along the line, I think he's neighborhood friendly, meaning he understands how to communicate with the guys to the right, to the left of him, to make sure that he makes good decisions. He moves people off the ball. And if you're a team in need of someone that can play on either side, Evan Neal has shown that ability. And so I think there is a lot of value that he brings. And even though he may not be the #1 overall pick, I think he's a talented player deserving of being in the top 5.
The only thing I would push back on, I like him as a compliment to Laramie Tunsil. I do not like him as a replacement to Laramie Tunsil. When you look at those two guys, I don't think it's close in terms of their athletic ability and what they can do from a range standpoint, both in pass protection and in the run game. I think Laramie Tunsil, to me, I thought he was the best player in that draft class, and when he's been healthy and out on the field, I think he's elite, elite, elite. I do not see Evan Neal in that same way.
Well, if those two get a chance to play together, would be great for the time being. All right, Lance, that was perfect. We're going to need more from you, though, because as much as I love talking about offensive linemen, I want to give some love to wide receivers. Let's go there next. We're going to find out who's going where and when in Lance's latest mock. Plus, Marcus Grant, he's stopping by to ballpark some fantasy values your team can't miss. here, so get your business in order. April 28th, live from Las Vegas, right here on NFL Network. If you want a staycation, that's cool. We saved you a seat right here. Don't miss it. Tell all your friends. Invite them over, too. All right, so the top 7 picks, according to Lance Zierlein's latest mock draft. Feast your eyes on them right here. Back-to-back edge players leading the way with Trayvon Walker, #1 overall. Then 3 tackles out of the next 5 picks, with cornerback Sauce Gardner going to the Jets as the outlier of the group here, and the Giants drafting Kayvon Thibodeau, 5th overall. Now, as promised, let's get to the wide receivers.
Caught by Garrett Wilson as he was battling. Wilson for a touchdown. Garrett Wilson. He's been in the end zone a lot tonight. Garrett Wilson is off and running. Another Buckeye touchdown.
So the Falcons can go in a lot of directions. They have a lot of needs, but all signs point to Garrett Wilson in most mocks, Lance.
Yeah, and Garrett Wilson makes sense. I mean, it's just such a massive, massive need. And as my man Bucky Brooks always says, you're putting together a basketball team of wide receivers, right? Well, you got a power forward in Pitts. You got the small forward in Cordero Patterson. Let's get a shooting guard. Let's get somebody who can get down the field and make some plays. And that's what we're doing with Garrett Wilson. They have to have another wide receiver this year. It's become a must with the departure, at least for 2022, of Calvin Ridley. So I think Garrett Wilson, the reason he's mocked here so frequently is it's a massive, massive need.
And Lance, you're not alone in this pick. Pretty unanimous across the board in our NFL Network mocks, according to DJ, Bucky, Charles, and yourself. Honestly, it is so difficult to get 4 people to agree on anything these days, but everyone's saying Garrett Wilson to the Falcons. It's honestly a beautiful thing. So DJ, why is this the right fit?
Well, I can go to the video and show you what I love about Garrett Wilson, why I think he's the best wide receiver in this draft class. He's my 5th overall player because he can do a little bit of everything. He's just a flat-out weapon. You want to use him outside, you can play him in the slot, you can hand him the ball, you can get him vertically, anything you want. He's got nuance and polish as a route runner. He understands how to attack leverage. And look at the separation he's able to generate here down the field. Play strength, something Bucky and I have been talking about for a long time, which is huge when you talk about factoring that change from the college level to the NFL level. He's got it. How about the catch radius? This is one of my favorites. Go back a couple of years ago against Clemson. Take that elevator all the way up to the top floor to go make a play. So when you look at this Falcons team, and Lance mentioned it, when you think about the lack of weapons they have outside Kyle Pitts, there's nothing. Tom Hanks in Castaway, his best friend was Wilson. This will be the best friend of the Atlanta Falcons right here.
Lance, what do you think?
No, I think DJ makes some great points. You know, the one area I think he has a little bit of a concern with is press. He gets hung up in press coverage sometimes. But like DJ talked about, the thing about him, Garrett Wilson, out of press and out of, you know, playing through physical route contact is he's strong. I mean, he's strong in his lower body, and never is that strength more evident than when he's winning contested catches. His ability to go up, rise above, and grab the contested catch, that's something that could be very important with a quarterback like Marcus Mariota. When you have a quarterback who's a longtime guy like Matt Ryan, you're going to have the ball right on your hands more times than not. But sometimes with other quarterbacks, it may not be exactly where you need it. So you need the catch radius and the ball skills to be able to turn those incompletions into catches. And that's something he can definitely do.
Yeah, he absolutely can do it. But the one thing you wonder is sometimes when you move off one player, you try not to get a player that's similar. So if Calvin Ridley isn't there, Garrett Wilson is more in that Calvin Ridley family in terms of size. So what about a big player like Drake London? If you go back and think about what Arthur Smith was able to do in Tennessee, he had success with big, physical wide receivers. A.J. Brown is a physical, freakish wide receiver. You think about Corey Davis and the others that they've had come through there. Drake London gives them something different. You pair him with Kyle Pitts, now you have that basketball team that you were talking about. You got the Twin Towers on the outside, and you're eating off those little DBs' heads in the division. So
they're different. They're trying to diversify in that way, but do you still have Garrett Wilson as the better overall player?
Yeah, this is tough because I think, look at styles. The styles and fights and what kind of team you want to do. I think Garrett Wilson is more skilled, but Drake London is a dominant player.
Oh, okay. Can't go wrong, it seems. So
diversify,
Wilson,
good financial work.
right? I know. That's what I do. I'm really good at financials. Not at all. Hey, the first of 6 wide receivers to go in the first round of Lance's mock was Garrett Wilson. You see right there, Washington, Philly, New Orleans, KC trading up. Brett Veach going for it there. And Green Bay all drafting wideouts, all in need of that position. And let's make this a little more interesting. Take it one step further with the expertise of our fantasy expert, Marcus Grant, in Stock Up, Stock Down. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. So let's start right there with some of these receivers, because I want to know, based on Lance's landing spots here, Garrett Wilson in ATL with Marcus Mariota, stock up, stock down.
Well, I'm going to say it's stock slightly down here. And I do want to just emphasize, this really is about, for me, landing spot more than individual talent. And it is necessary for the Falcons to go out and get a wide receiver. As the guys mentioned, I mean, they can't live on Kyle Pitts alone. So adding this help is good. But for fantasy, I worry a little bit about him paired with a guy like Marcus Mariota, who for years has been known as being a little bit more conservative in terms of pushing the ball downfield. I think Wilson can certainly succeed after the catch, but at least playing fantasy, that's a hard way to live. You want to know your guys are getting shots down the field, so that sort of worries me. The upside, though, I do think plenty of targets would be coming his way, just because, as I mentioned, they're looking for somebody else to help out Kyle Pitts.
Okay, how about Chris Olave with Patrick Mahomes? Stock up, or stock cannot be down, right?
No, it's not. It's definitely going to be up if Chris Olave ends up there in Kansas City. I mean, look, we always want somebody that's attached to a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. It is the reason that fantasy managers have been trying to make Mecole Hardman a thing. It's the reason that we sort of thought, well, maybe Josh Gordon could even come back a little bit. Now, I do think if he lands here, he will be in competition with Marquez Valdez-Scantling for some of those targets. I'd also say, look, for the Chiefs, their track record on drafting wide receivers hasn't been great, but if this happens, this would be the highest that they have drafted a wideout since they took John Baldwin 26th overall in 2011. I think Olave is probably better primed to have some more success, but, you know, it's not a guarantee that just because you're catching balls from Mahomes, you're going to be a stud.
Okay, last one. How about this then? Is it a guarantee that you're going to be a stud catching balls from Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Let's talk about him. Christian Watson going there, according to Lance.
Yeah, it feels that way, right? I'd say stock way up on Christian Watson, just because there are so many targets now available in Green Bay. Devontae Adams, obviously, in Las Vegas. It looks like Allen Lazard sort of steps into that wide receiver one opportunity there, but Watson can kind of step in and kind of be who Marquez Valdez-Scantling was in Green Bay, that deep threat, that explosive player. And look, Rodgers has to go somewhere with the football. I think if he can kind of make a connection with AR-12 early in his time in Green Bay, if that's where he does indeed go, I do think the sky potentially is the limit for him.
He averaged over 20 yards per catch during his college career, so now I'm definitely going to reach for him. There's no question about that. Thank you, Marcus. Coming up, let's talk about who is reaching for perhaps a quarterback in the real draft. Coming up, we're going to talk quarterbacks, cornerbacks, and more. How high will they go? Welcome back to Mock Draft Live as we go through Lance Zierlein's latest mock. And you have the Seahawks, Lance, on the clock. They go corner at number 9.
They need positions all over the place. Height, weight, speed player. 2019 tape is incredible. Question is, can he get back to that form from 2019? But his testing was really, really impressive. He moved well around the field. And listen, he's an explosive, highly talented player. Makes sense for the Seahawks.
Hoping they can get that 2019 version of Stingley there. And then rounding out the top 10 with the Jets, they take Sauce Gardner. They took him earlier, and they double down on defense here at 10.
Yeah, a few players have helped themselves through the draft process more than Jermaine Johnson, who's really shot up. Great Senior Bowl, great combine, had a really good season. Carl Lawson coming off of that Achilles tear. You know, the Jets don't quite know what they have in him when he comes back, and they need help on the other side anyway. So really fits a position of need with a player who's one of the hotter two-way players going today as a rusher and run defender.
A very defensive approach for Robert Saleh after spending their first 4 picks on offense in his first draft last year. Here you can take a look at picks 11 through 15. As mentioned earlier, Lance has the Commanders selecting a wide receiver, USC's Drake London. Kyle Hamilton, the standout safety, lands in Minnesota. Houston goes defensive tackle at 13. George Karlaftis, Purdue's edge rusher, joins Calais Campbell on Baltimore's D-line. And Philly, they draft a cornerback, Trent McDuffie, to team up with Darius Slay for the Eagles. Now, Mickey Loomis, it's your turn. And the trade up for the 16th pick goes to a quarterback.
Willis to throw. It's a missile. Touchdown play.
Quarterback draw, navigates. Malik Willis. Touchdown, Liberty. Malik's going to take off. He's got some room to run. Makes a miss twice. Still on his feet. Now going to loft it downfield. Touchdown play.
Willis, the first quarterback off the board. It's a new era without Breeze and Sean Payton in New Orleans, and they've got a guy to build around. The guy that led all of the FBS with 90 forced missed tackles on runs in 2021, and he's pretty good with the arm talent, too. So the draft dominoes, they are falling fast, and a few quarterback-needy teams might be feeling lucky in Vegas. So if no quarterback is drafted here in the first 15 picks like Lance is projecting, which team is most likely to cut in front of the Saints in line, DJ?
Well, I look at a team like the Detroit Lions and where they're positioned at pick 32 and 34. They have opportunities to move up, plenty of opportunities if they love one of these quarterbacks. And in this scenario, without one going, this is a great opportunity for them to strike. Put a good player in the fold with pick number 2. They did that with Hutchinson. Now you come back and get your quarterback in this area of the draft.
Well, one of the teams that has been racking up frequent flyer miles this spring has been the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've gone to every quarterback workout, and you can tell they're just looking for the guy that can be their long-term solution. And so when I think about what they want to do with Matt Canada running a new offense and how they really want to go and maybe utilize some of the collegiate concepts, I think jumping ahead of the Saints makes perfect sense for the Steelers, particularly if they have their eye on Malik Willis.
I think you both had great teams there, and they're the two teams I considered most heavily to move up ahead of 16 and make that selection. I'm going to go with the Steelers, though, simply because this is Kevin Colbert's last draft. They have done so much homework, as Bucky said, on these quarterbacks. And if a quarterback gets past number 10, then I think it's a little easier for them to move up and make that decision. So I do think that the Steelers are a team you absolutely have to keep an eye on if it starts to creep into 12, 13, and 14 in that range.
Well, quarterback, not a concern in Kansas City, but they could use someone else to catch the ball from Patrick Mahomes after trading the most explosive wide receiver in the league, Tyreek Hill, to Miami. Hello, Chris Olave, a school record 35 touchdowns at Ohio State and a sub-4.4 guy for the Buckeyes there. Lance, why is this the only trade that you made in the mock for this guy right here?
Well, because it took me 11 hours to finish my mock. At one point, I had 3 different teams making trades. And that's what the process was. I mean, I had the Lions up to 13. I had the Packers moving up to the Chargers spot.
I love it.
I had wild stuff. But, you know, once you go through these, the domino effect really does change and alter how you think this will work out. But one thing that I think is a certainty is that Brett Veach is not going to sit there at 30 and 31 and just watch everyone get picked off the board before him. He's aggressive. He's got additional draft capital in the second round, and I think they will definitely trade up. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a look at Jamison Williams, maybe Treylon Burks, but certainly Chris Olave should be in play. He's a 3-level worker who I think immediately fits into the offense and starts getting catches.
So are the Chiefs the most likely team to trade up late in the first, or is there someone else that's going to swoop in and steal the moment, DJ?
I think there's a lot of teams picking bottom 1, top of 2 that could use a wideout. I'll give you an example. A team like the Jets, if they were to go at 4 and 10 and address that defense with a corner and a pass rusher, I think they'd still like to add a wide receiver. They pick early in the second round, 35 and 38. They could easily slide back in, get that third first rounder. I think of somebody like Treylon Burks, if he were to drift a little bit, you put him in there to complement Elijah Moore, Corey Davis. I would love that fit.
You know, I'm thinking the Jacksonville Jaguars could make a move into the first round, because if they're really committed to Trevor Lawrence and going all in, they have to continue to upgrade the wide receiver core. Yes, they've done a really good job in the offseason. They brought in Christian Kirk. They have Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. But you have to think, when you struggle like they've struggled in recent years at wide receiver, you double down. And so this might be an opportunity for them to go up there and get one of those designated playmakers. If Olave isn't there, maybe it is Jahan Dotson if he's available in the first round. I just believe that the Jaguars are not going to sit back and continue to just wait for the board to come to them. I think at some point they make a move.
I would like to also point out real quick, Lance, that I think I can help trim your process down by about 9 hours.
Nice.
I think we can get that 11-hour process down to a good, solid 2-hour process.
Wow.
Tell me how. I'd love to find out also, Colleen.
Off the air.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll all get together. It'll be great. Let's go to pick 16 here through 23. It's a mini sweet spot for wide receivers with 3 getting calls. Treylon Burks, the first in the group. Howie Roseman says hello to him. The Saints pick up Alabama's Jamison Williams and Olave to the Chiefs. As you can see right there, no wide receiver for Green Bay. They're staying on brand there.
Bucky endorses that philosophy.
He does. We'll get to their pick in just a second, but also of note, Kenny Pickett. He goes from Pitt to Pittsburgh. Love that convenience for him. Kenyon Green is a name I haven't seen a ton in these mocks. Lance has the Pats drafting a guard out of A&M there with the 21st pick. So let's get to where now meets next, brought to you by FedEx. DJ Bucky. As much as I would love to talk about some guard comps, that's not really what's going to get me going today. So how about a comp here for Jamison Williams, the Saints' newest wide receiver?
So this is going to be a little interesting, because I'm going to go with Ted Ginn Jr. for Jamison Williams. And part of it is just the sheer speed factor. And I know when you think about Ted Ginn, you think about him coming in with a lot of hype and accolade to the Miami Dolphins, and didn't necessarily fear that. But remember, he played 14 years in the league, and each of those years he was a very productive, big home run hitter. That is how I think Jamison Williams' game is going to evolve. He is going to be a thrill a minute, because he's one of the best vertical threats that we'll see.
I love it when you haven't thought of a comp and then somebody else comes up with one. You go, oh, I see a little bit of that there. And it's a good call.
So is there any way that he would still be here without the ACL injury?
No, he's got a chance to be the first wideout to go, even with the ACL injury. There's a lot of love when you talk to teams about Jamison Williams, because everybody's chasing that explosiveness and that speed, and the belief is he's going to be back to 100% sooner than later.
Okay, I like it. DJ, I know that you've been working on a lot of comps.
Yep.
You're like a comp simulator right now.
Yes.
So how about a comp for Georgia's defensive tackle, according to Lance? We got Jordan Davis here for the Packers.
Well, look, let's look at on the field when they're at their best. I'm going to go with big Albert Haynesworth. When he was early on in his career with Tennessee, he was a dominant interior player. Remember, they used to kick him out wide and kick Vandenbosch in, and they would kind of let him just collapse tackles out there on the outside. I think he's got that type of upside, that type of ability, maybe without a little bit of that extra that Albert Haynesworth used to sneak in there.
Well, the comp to Albert Haynesworth is one that is interesting, because I don't think people remember how dominant Albert Haynesworth was.
It's the reason he got all that money.
5-year period. Until he got the money playing for the Washington franchise, it changed. But this was a guy that was dominant. He was a one-man pass rush. They had Cal Vandenbosch on the outside of him. He made him a Pro Bowl player because he commanded so much attention. If Jordan Davis is able to really master the pass rush part of it, You just don't see guys of his size with that kind of athleticism and strength.
By the way, Kenyon Green, Ben Grubbs, there's your guard comp for you there. I don't want to leave you out on that one,
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
You know what? That's great. That is a good teammate right there. That was where Now Meets Next, presented by FedEx. And next for us, some surprises. We'll get to Dallas's pick after they've nailed the first round in recent years, plus names you need to know because they might just sneak onto your team's roster. More Mock Draft Live ahead.
Takes off running the football. Whoa, I don't think this is going to work out. Oh, my gosh. Oh, the official gets in the way. The game's over. The game is over.
Well, you can't set your own ball as a center. You got to give it to the ref. Dak Prescott should have looked and found the ref. You can't give it to your center. Wow, I am livid if I'm a Cowboy fan. That's the end of the game. The game is over. To lose like this, it's just going to last a long time before they get over this one.
A lot of heartbreak there. Going to build you guys right back up, though, here. We get it. The Cowboys, they know how to draft first-round picks. They nail the assignment every single year. Past 8 years, hit after hit. 7 Pro Bowlers of those 8 draft picks. Both sides of the ball, too. Micah Parsons was an immediate star. CeeDee Lamb fell right into their lap. They got Zeke, Byron Jones, now in Miami. They also got cornerstones of that offensive line, Zach Martin and Travis Frederick, who spent 7 years with Dallas. So now I just assume that they're going to hit on their first pick, and it is Bernhard Reidman, offensive tackle out of Central Michigan. Jerry Jones has to replace La'el Collins, who went off to Cincinnati and immediately got a Bengals tattoo. It was aggressive, but it was very confident. So who is Bernhard Reidman exactly? Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm a visual learner, so here's a decent combine comp right here. Reidman's numbers right there on the left compared to Titans 3-time Pro Bowler Taylor Lewan. The biggest difference on this board is the 8 years between them. Identical results in the shuttle, the vert, the broad. Reidman squeezed 1 extra rep on the bench and 6 more points in athleticism, so full marks for that. That's just a fancy equation to use combine numbers from. And then another name that popped up for the first time on a mock, Kaiir Elam. Now, the Florida cornerback is Lance's pick for the Bills. Bills can do really whatever they want here. What luxury they have. Not many holes to fill on this roster. Trey White, he went down with an ACL on Thanksgiving. Getting him healthy, pairing him up with Elam seems to be the plan here. But Lance, this is the first time I'm seeing him on a mock. So tell me everything I need to know about him.
Well, I have, from a grading standpoint, I have Elam as the second-round pick, but he's got a lot of experience. And one of the things that really popped up at the Combine was a couple conversations with teams who said he was one of the most intelligent defensive backs that they visited with at all. Just really impressive, understood concepts, highly intelligent. He's a very athletic player as well. He ran better at the Combine than expected, although I would caution there are times on tape that he gets beat deep. So I think he needs to find the right scheme. But this is a position, Colleen, that is a high-profile, high-need position. And I think cornerbacks are going to get pushed into this draft. And I think Elam is one of those guys who is going to make it into the first.
Some people like him even higher than where Lance has them.
Really?
You talk to people around the league. So this would not shock me at all if he did find his way all the way up there in this draft class. Height, weight, speed corners, there's always going to be a market for him. I think he's a little bit raw in coverage. There's times if he gets out of phase, as we talk about in scouting, gives up too much separation. But you've got something you can dream on here with the height, weight, speed.
Yeah, and his dad, his uncle, played in the NFL as well, so he's got the bloodlines there. We'll see. You know, guys, I love a Husky. I love dogs, so I'm just going to jump right down to 27. Talk about a Husky here, where Lance has UConn defensive tackle Travis Jones joining the Bucks. Best of luck to all of the teams trying to run up the gut this season, because they're going to have a lot of fun with Vita Vea and this guy right here, Jones. Lance, we had to run Senior Bowl footage right here, which we were watching, because they don't have anything else of him playing yet. So, look, with this fit and him going in the first round, tell us why you decided to go with him.
Well, I think it's a Todd Bowles special. I mean, one of the things, I know we talk about Tom Brady all the time, and rightfully so, and Mike Evans and the offensive weapons, but, you know, the real – the force that really made Tampa when they won the Super Bowl, I thought, was that defense. And what you have is an opportunity to shore up the defense again and get it to where it needs to be. And Ndamukong Suh is departed, but Travis Jones has long arms. He's big, he's physical, he's an absolute run stopper there next to Vita Vea. And I think he's a sneaky, effective power rusher as well, with the real ability to dent the pocket and cause some dismay there along the interior. So I think what you're looking at is a player who is on the rise after Jordan Davis. He's the next interior bully that is going to be drafted from that frame and that type of player. And I think he makes sense with what Tampa needs to do to keep winning, which is dominate the fronts.
When you think about how this team won, they went up front with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh dominating in the middle. If Ndamukong Suh is no longer part of the picture, you need someone inside that can create that chaos like they were able to create a couple years ago. Travis Jones certainly has the strength, he has the physicality, the explosiveness, and then the length to be a disruptive player at the point of attack. You put anybody beside Vita Vea, they're going to have opportunities, but now you're talking about someone who can win their one-on-one matchups, particularly in the run game.
All right, we're going to skip down to 29, where the Cardinals, look what they have here. It's a running back, everybody out there. Breece Hall, he showed out on the field at the Combine. The testing matches the tape. The Cardinals re-signed James Conner, obviously, to a 3-year contract in March. Now, he scored a career-high 18 touchdowns. However, he averaged a career-low 3.7 yards per carry last season, so Hall can bring some of that explosion to the Cardinals' backfield. Now, if you want more on Breece Hall, great, we got you. According to Next Gen Stats, these right here are the highest overall draft scores for 2022. It's kind of like a Madden score, and nobody bested Breece. A score of 99, tied with Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum, strong offensive lineman there, Aiden Hutchinson, an offensive tackle, Evan Neal, both coming in at 95 right behind them. But the first round running back debate, it is in live and well, it always is. Before we get to that, though, here's a little more background on Mr. Hall.
I would describe my style of play as being balanced and really versatile.
Big hole, keeps his footing, touchdown!
My speed, my cutbacks, my vision, my ability to catch the ball.
Breece Lightning takes it in for the Cyclone touchdown.
I just feel like nobody can do what I can do with the ball. That's why I feel like I'm the best back in this draft.
There's the record for Breece Hall.
Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. I actually had two cousins playing in the NFL, Roger Craig and Kenton Keith. My stepdad, he played college football in Nebraska and then went on to play for the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. I didn't know how good they actually were. Looking up those highlights on YouTube and kind of being starstruck, that made me want to be just like them growing up.
Breece Hall, 75 yards on the
first play from scrimmage.
Football season for my family was really big. We'd have gatherings with all of my cousins, aunts, uncles, just watching different games. We were always really competitive, you know, just talking stuff during the games and really just having fun. I really just come from a sports family, so I always knew that this was going to be my calling. David Montgomery, yeah, that's my guy. He's given me a lot of game that I'm going to take on to the NFL with me, as far as just nothing's going to be given to me. I'm going to have to go earn it.
Breece Hall did not disappoint. 4.39 40.
He's got some juice.
It's going to mean the world to me, just knowing that all my hard work's paid off and knowing that my family's not going to have to want for anything anymore. I'm going to be able to provide that and just pay my parents back and pay my sister back for all the time they put in for me.
So should Breece be the play for the Cardinals' first-round pick? I mean, you could look right here, brief history of the running backs drafted in the first round going all the way back to 2015. Najee Harris last year. He should get a boost with some help on the offensive line in Pittsburgh. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a fantasy hype machine. He fell a little flat. Josh Jacobs, though, he was bombed his rookie season. Saquon has had some bad injury luck. Fournette got out of Jacksonville, won himself a ring with Tampa Bay, but it's never a sure thing. Zeke, he's been excellent for the Cowboys, but Todd Gurley is no longer in the league. Lance, I'm going to bring you back in here with the first-round running back in Breece Hall. Why is he the guy, and do you think it'll actually happen?
I think there is a chance. And I remember I had Arizona moving back so that Kansas City could move up and take wide receiver. If they fell to the back end of the first, I think Breece is a pretty good fit. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Kyler Murray. He's a full package, three-down running back. And I'm not worried about the addition of or the contract to James Conner because he's going to handle short yardage carries. But let's take a look at why I like him. And it's the vision and then the burst. He's got the patience to wait it out. He can wait for linebackers to commit and then burst through, and he's got surprising top-end speed. He's a very loose limb player, so when you think you have him tackled, you don't. He can slip through the tackles and add extra yards. And here's another way, contact balance. He can take on contact. He balances out the base. And this is how you get those yak yards, the ability to create after contact. But what I love is that he comes out of the backfield. You see the sweet spin move in space. He's got the finishing speed, and he has really nice hands. My comp on him was Matt Forte, and I think that full package running back that can handle all three downs and get you short yardage carries, that's why he's so valuable. And I think Connor is just a great complement to Breece Hall for an Arizona offense. It'll take some pressure off of Kyler Murray.
He's one of the 32 best players in this draft. I really do believe that. And I think when you talk about running backs in the first-round discussion, that debate that exists, I'm for it provided you have your team ready to win right now. I don't want to waste running back carries on a bad football team because the shelf life is what it is. I want to drop them in, insert them on a team that's ready to win right now, and I think the Cardinals view themselves in that light.
Yeah, I understand you talk about a shelf life. Look, I come from philosophy where when you take one, you draft them high, you ride them till the wheels fall off, and then you find another one. And so
I don't like that.
I'm going to drive the car, I'm going to lease the car, and I'm going to get another one. So draft them in the first round if they're talented enough, but you draft them knowing that we may not get a second contract for them. Breece Hall is a guy that can be a high-volume playmaker. Get him a bunch of touches, let him run it, let him catch it out the backfield, and then in 4 or 5 years, we're looking for another one.
I was having a conversation with the personnel guy about Breece Hall, and he said, how fast is he? How fast do you think he is before the combine? I said, well, he's always faster than the guy that's chasing him.
That's true.
He's just got that easy movement.
You mentioned that teams should really only draft a running back when they're in a win-now situation. Do you view the Cardinals that way?
I think they're right there. I think Cliff Kingsbury knows that they've got to win right now. I know they've got new contracts there, but this is a time for this organization to take that next step. Kyler Murray getting ready to get that next contract. Lance talked about taking some pressure off of him with Breece Hall. It's a talented roster. They've got some veterans. They need to win right now.
Yeah, and I think another thing you look at with Arizona is that, you know, there is something to be said. Kyler Murray's success is going to be the key to that team winning. And the best way, I don't know how many times we've seen this with quarterbacks, when you give them a running back and a running game, I think it really alters a quarterback's confidence when they're ahead of the sticks on multiple occasions. I think being able to play Breece, run him out of the slot, run him out into the slot, out of the backfield, you now have matchup potential as well. So I think one of the things we see with a lot of these wide open passing attacks in the NFL and coaches, even Cliff Kingsbury's realizing I've got to run the ball and I've got to run it better, especially if I want to take care of my quarterback in this highly competitive division.
Yeah, and for Hall, just someone else who can score touchdowns in that offense. It won't just be James Conner. So a welcome addition there in Arizona. Last few picks coming up for you guys, and surprising names here that haven't been called yet. We'll see who sneaks into the end of the first round of Lance's mock when we come back. Let's wrap up the madness now. Boye Mafe goes 30th to the Chiefs. Pass rush help is on the way. Kansas City, don't worry. The Chiefs ranked bottom 5 in sacks last season, but Mafe, he adds some push and power that they absolutely need on that defense. He had a dominant Senior Bowl and continues to rise up draft boards all over the place. Now, I told you earlier, I really love dogs. I'm basic, I get it, but I really like this pick. The Bengals, they add another Husky at 31. Cornerback Kyler Gordon, his UW teammate Trent McDuffie, went earlier to Philadelphia, so now Gordon heads to Cincinnati to help build up that defense as they continue to dominate. And with the last pick, the Lions, they can't pass up that fifth-year option for a quarterback. Matt Corral heading to Detroit. Now, it seems to be the consensus third quarterback in mocks these days with no guaranteed money left on Jared Goff's deal after the season. He could just slide right in and be Dan Campbell's quarterback of the future. They have this pick, of course, because they traded away Matthew Stafford, so I like that. That works out. Some notable names, though, not in the first round mock of Lance Zierlein. Lance, how are you going to leave these guys hanging here? Nakobe Dean, Andrew Booth, Jahad Dotson, Daxton Hill, Roger McCreary. They're all just waiting for that call. I mean, George Kittle, he said if the early bird catches the worm, then how do good things come to those who wait? I know, but I think the good things will come to those guys who are waiting to get called on day 2. So let's go through here. And Lance, why don't you start us off? Jags, they are on top day 2. Who should they select?
Well, I think one of the picks they could take a look at is Tyler Linderbaum. He is a guy that I would have loved to put in the first round. I have him very high. He's got a high grade, a 6.7, which is very high in the grading scale we use. It's just that he's more of a zone scheme guy. He's got short arms. He doesn't have great size. It's a very specific type of fit for him, but where he fits in, he's going to play extremely well, and I think he could fit in pretty well with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's also a winner, which I think you want with your culture.
Yeah, winners are important.
I love a winner.
But look,
I want winners.
Yeah, we all want winners. But, Colleen, everybody can't get into the first-round club. Sometimes we can't let you pass the very round. You know what I mean, Miss Colleen.
Oh,
you know how that goes.
What are you talking about?
What we're going to do is we're going to put Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean should be someone that people are really making a push to get up at the top of the second round. This is an instinctive playmaker, great IQ, great awareness, plays very fast. He's a big-time player. I think someone wants him early in the second round.
Those are good options, but I'm going to go with Daxton Hill because I do believe he's got three-position flexibility. I know he can play up top as a free safety. We saw majority of his reps this year in the slot as the nickel where he was outstanding. I think he's got a skill set that would hold up outside at corner. So I think he's long gone. I think he goes in the first round, but if for some reason he's there top of 2, Jacksonville just turned the card in.
It's all going down in just about 2 weeks in Vegas. Make sure you watch right here on NFL Network, 8 p.m. Eastern. Lance, thanks so much. Great mock today. Do you have any parting words for Lance?
No, I was going to say, let me know when you want to play tic-tac-toe behind you with that set, and also see if you can get your money back for that microphone.
He's been relentless all morning. I love it, guys.
He's the worst.
Thanks for watching.
He's legitimately the worst.
Later.